Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at Gulfstream Park for Pegasus World Cup Day, and we'll look at Turfway Park as well. And Darin, I'll let you kick things off because you got the Turfway race. So tell us what your best bet of the week is there.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of big racing action at Gulfstream Park, but the Turfway Park, there's a horse that got my attention on Saturday night, and it comes in race number 7, which is a second level allowance going 6.5 furlongs. Number 3, Nifty, is a horse that was claimed 3 starts back by trainer Juan Cano. Been running on the dirt up at Saratoga, went to Churchill Downs, had a couple of decent races there, including a good fourth against a strong field of starter allowance. Those $32,000 starter allowance company is really tough. Then came over to Turfway last time out and got on track just a little bit too late, finishing behind Antares, who we will run against once again here. This race, I think, has a little bit more early speed signed on, and I think the extra 16th of a mile is really going to help this horse move forward. If you take a look back early in the spring last year, he had a couple of races at 6.5 where he showed a little bit more early speed and finished full of run. Now getting back to the 6.5, I think Nifty at 5-1 is an intriguing play for a horse that just kind of ran out of ground last time out. So Nifty, race number 7, Saturday night at Turfway, Ashley.
All right, James, let's take it over to Gulfstream Park for the big Pegasus World Cup Day card. What's your best bet there?
My best bet is number 11, Tumba Rumba, in the Fred Hooper Stakes at Gulfstream on Saturday. Tumba Rumba is a horse, a 4-year-old gelding that raced in sprints early in his career, first few races. Brian Lynch tried him in a pair of turf routes early last year. He didn't take to the turf at all, and he went back to sprints. But this summer at Ellis Park, 3 starts back in mid-August, Tumba Rumba stretched out to a mile distance in the Ellis Park Derby and ran a big race to win that race. He's come back in his last 2 in the Grade 3 Oklahoma Derby and in the Louisiana Classic at Fairgrounds, and run 2 strong races, earned triple-digit speed ratings, Brisnet speed ratings for both efforts. I love the cutback to a mile. I think this horse has turned a huge corner for Lynch in the last 3 starts, and he's moving forward as a 4-year-old presently with a strong work tab. He's got back-to-back real super fast 5 furlong works, which is an encouraging sign. And I like the outside draw with Luis Saez. So Tumba Rumba should be prominent, might not be on the lead, but will be up close in the early stages. And I'll look for him to carry his form forward in the Fred Hooper Ashley.
Yeah, I like that pick, and I think Hijazi is a vulnerable 8-5 morning line favorite there. Racing at a mile, I feel like does better at those shorter distances so far, at least. Isn't proven at a mile.
And I thought it was a tough post for him because he can be inconsistent from the gate and early parts of the race, and he's going to have to work out a trip.
All right, well, I'm going to go to race 4 earlier on the card, and I'm going to back a long shot in number 1 Beechnut Trophy at 12-1. This is a 1 mile and 70-yard handicap for fillies and mares. And Beechnut Trophy is a 5-year-old mare who's over 3 in stakes for her career, but she's been racing on turf. She had 9 previous turf starts before she switched back to all weather. Raced at Gulfstream, came out and won and posted a 92 Brisnet speed figure. It's about 2 points higher than the par winning figure for these conditions. If you look at her workouts as well, super sharp workouts for Saffie Joseph, and he's a 20% winner at Gulfstream. He's also a 22% winner with horses that won their last race, and Jose Ortiz is retaining the mount, doing really well at Gulfstream as well. I also like the other Saffie Joseph runner, Candy Light, but it's Candy Light's first start with Joseph since transferring to his barn. And I think the workouts of Beechnut Trophy are promising at that price. I'm going to go for the long shot here. And I think both of those Saffie Joseph runners can beat the morning line favorite here for Riley Mott. Do y'all like Riley Mott's horse? I mean, I know it's 9-5 on the morning line, but I'm looking for a price somewhere on this card.
Yeah. If she runs back to the last 2, she's obviously going to be very tough. I think this field is probably tougher. On these big days of racing, if you've got horses that have been racing at the track, they usually start to encounter fields on a day like this that attract some better stock, because trainers that are shipping in for the grade 1 and grade 2 races sometimes send a couple of horses along for some of these other races on the card. And these races come up a bit tougher. Like, for example, Messidor is probably a much better filly and mare than anything that Sand and Sea has run against in the last couple of races. So if she's a synthetic freak, it makes her awfully difficult. But I don't blame you for taking a shot, and you certainly have the right connections to do that, Ashley.
All right, let's talk the horses we're fading at a short price. James, who do you have?
Number 9, Mary Quite Contrary at 2-1 morning line odds, and the inside information at Gulfstream is my best fade of the week. You know, this 5-year-old mare was in outstanding form last year when she won this the inside information. That, I think, marked her first graded stakes win, but she'd won 4 consecutive races prior to that. And one thing about those efforts were they were, you know, relatively fast efforts, you know, got good speed ratings in them and ran, you know, beat some decent horses. This year she came back from a freshening. Her last start was this summer, 2 back, and came back from a freshening last time in that Rampart. And I thought she faced the soft field folks, and I thought that it was a really workmanlike performance. She got a 90 Brisnet speed rating, big drop from the number she earned last year. And I just question whether she's as sharp as she was last year when she won the inside information. So I'm going to try to beat Mary Quite Contrary in that title defense, Darin.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to get a lot of love because, you know, the handicappers are going to say, okay, well, you take a look at what she's run against, and you just see Echo Zulu and Goodnight Olive all over the place. And when she doesn't face them, she typically does, you know, quite well. So that certainly is going to set her up with getting some dollars. I think the fillies that are coming and the mares that are coming out of the Sugar Swirl will definitely have a chance to upend her here. It's going to come down the trip. There's a lot of speed signed on. It's going to come out to which horse gets their engine rolling and gets clear sailing around that far turn. But I don't think she's a shoo-in by any stretch.
Yeah, I'm looking at actually, there's a couple of horses I like. One of them is a Saffy Joseph runner, Intrepid Daydream. And then Gerrymander for Chad Brown, though I know he's over 26, but you know, could go gate to wire here potentially and bounce back. So
Give a look to you know, I don't know if she can win the race, but I'm intrigued in her long time. The Charles 50 filly 2-item saver. This might be a little bit too much for her too quickly, but she had a good win at Turfway. And you take a look at her races back at Keeneland and Colonial, especially Keeneland was extremely sharp. And her dam was a mare by the name of 2-item Limit, who nearly pulled off a huge upset in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, like that might have been 2001. That was about 23 years ago. So, so a nice throwback filly here with some old school pedigree you like to see.
all right, Dan, who are you going to fade this week?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Gulfstream for the fade. And I'm going to take a shot against this horse that put up a monster number last time in the Pegasus Filly and Mare World Cup Turf and Star Fortress. You know, I don't know that field that she beat. I know Lovely Princess came back to win, then her subsequent try wasn't really overwhelming. I know she won the race by 10. It earned a monster figure. This is just the type of filly that I try to bet, you know, bet against next time out. She's going to be overbet off a monster number. She was just an ordinary filly overseas for the most part. This is a much stronger field, in my opinion, than what she faced in the Grade 3 Cardinal. And I do think there's a couple in here that I would definitely prefer at any kind of a number. You know, I think Ruby Nell is not without a chance shipping in from the West Coast. Fluffy Socks is another one that has been very sharp. Queen Goddess is one to look at. But for me, I love Didia in this race quite a bit. I've been a high fan of hers for a long time. You draw a line through the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, where obviously she faced monsters that day. Her previous form was extremely strong, including a win over Anna Zet, which is a filly that I'm very high on this year out in California. So I think at a short price here, Star Fortress is definitely a fade for me.
I agree with Darin's fade there, and I, you know, Lovely Princess was in that field. I don't think she fired at all that day. You know, I'm gonna need, like, if Star Fortress had something in her past that would indicate that that was a realistic race to rely upon, I might be willing to buy it. But I agree with Darin. I think she's facing tougher competition in this spot, potentially vulnerable off the 2-month freshening, Ashley.
Yeah, I still like Star Fortress, but the horses you named, Darin, are all runners that I think can win this as well. Didia especially, and even Fluffy Socks potentially rebounding. So we'll see what happens with that one. I'm still gonna probably stick with Star Fortress, but it is
One of us is going to be
you a
trying
start
to
there.
race, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I might be taking a controversial stance with my fade, and I don't think you're gonna like this one, James, but I'm fading number 7 National Treasure at 9-5 in the big race, the Pegasus World Cup. And, you know, I know he's going to be a hot pick here, 4-year-old coming into this race, but he was 1 for 7 last year. His only win was that Preakness win going gate to wire. And I understand he has some bullet workouts heading into this. He's got Flavian Proud aboard, but even with that, no second to Cody's Wish in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I know that's a big thing that people are looking at here. I don't like the price, 9-5 with this field. I think it's a very loaded field. I actually like First Mission a little bit better looking at other 4-year-olds, and also has some really sharp workouts. Louis Saez aboard, but I'm going to take a shot with an 8-1 horse here, and Skippy Longstocking. Like his form, like his performance at the distance, and 3 straight triple-digit Brisnet speed figures. So I see other runners that I think can come in here, and looking at, the inconsistencies with National Treasure last year. He's also 0 for 2 at the distance and didn't even finish in the money in those 2 tries at 1 1/8 of a mile. So I know you don't like it, James.
Yeah, well, hey, I don't blame you though. I mean, he's the 9-5 morning line favorite. I don't have any problem with somebody trying to beat a favorite, especially if they've got good reasons. So.
I don't like him at all. And the reason I don't like him at all is because he's not getting the lead.
I think he's controlling the pace.
No, I don't.
I disagree.
I think
I disagree. I thought there was speed in that dirt mile. Listen, National Treasure is a horse with bad class. He reminds me just like White Abario. He was a horse that ran a big race early in his career, but he wasn't a finished product at all. I think that race last fall signals he is, and that's the great thing about it is we're going to find out on Saturday.
$10 Derby bet. Who makes the front? Hoist the Gold or National Treasure?
Ah.
I don't think John Velasquez is going to allow this horse to go to the lead. If you take a look back in his history, that's how you beat this horse. If he doesn't make the front, he's no good. It's just not. He is a need the lead type. He has never shown an ability to rate off of and pass horses in the stretch, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it.
I think he'll be up close at least. I mean,
he will be up close.
I mean, he's not going to be rating like a length back of Hoist. I don't think Hoist the Gold's that quick to begin with. And secondly, I just think, I can look at his work pattern. I went back last spring. I mean, he really turned a corner just in his morning works to me before that Breeders' Cup, and he ran to those works in that races. So I'm encouraged by how he's training, but the pace is part of it because I'm a little bit dubious of Hoist the Gold. I'm not going to wager with you there because that's the only chance, but I'm a little dubious, so we'll see how it shakes out.
It's going to be tough. I'm looking at these E1 and E2 ratings for Hoist the Gold and National Treasure. I mean, National Treasure had a 123 E2 last race, but Hoist the Gold's got those triple-digit E1 and E2 figures too. I mean, it is going to be a battle coming out the gate. But Darin, I know you like Hoist the Gold, but are you concerned with that stretch out in distance? CNS,
No.
He's been racing at a mile.
Not at Gulfstream. I'm not at Gulfstream.
Okay.
Gulfstream mile and eighth races play closer to a mile than they do anything else. It's a very speed favoring track. It's a very short stretch. By the time they hit the top of the stretch, there's just a little bit more than a furlong to go. It's one of the shortest stretches in the country. If the race was someplace else, I would say yes. At Gulfstream, doesn't bother me.
He's going to need that speed favoring track like he got on Cigar Mile Day, Darin. So
he might, but Gulfstream Park is known to be speed favoring on days like this.
Very contentious debate here about the Pegasus World Cup.
So I'm just happy I'm sitting on a horse that's 12-1 versus 9-5.
I know, here I am. Yeah, I've been in this position before.
All right, I think we spent a lot of time on our fade this week, but Darin, before we move on, what promos do we have going on at TwinSpires?
Yeah, so obviously with the Pegasus coming up this weekend, we wanted to incorporate that into our money back offer. So we're not going to just put the Pegasus in there. The winter money back, which is a $10 money back offer, it features 6 races on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. All the big races 8 through 13. We're going to get them all in there for you. So that starts with the Grade 3 McKnight, goes all the way through the Pegasus World Cup, 6 consecutive races to get involved. And that's an automated money back. So within minutes after the race is official, if your horse runs second or third in an eligible race, you're going to have that money back in your account and get ready to reload and fire again. So be sure to take part in that. We also have our 20 times points Bayou Bluegrass wrapping up the next couple of weekends between Fairgrounds and Turfway Park. So be sure to be included in that as well, Ashley.
Sounds good. And we'll stick with you. Tell us what else you're watching for this weekend.
Yeah, at Gulfstream Park, race number 2, there's a 3-year-old maiden special weight that's got some really interesting runners in there. And I'll highlight a couple of them. I'll start with the horse that's got a lot of buzz on social media, and it came off of a workout back on January the 3rd and January the 19th in Victory Avenue. This is the Mage Connections, Gustavo Delgado, Ramiro Restrepo's group as the owner, a son of Arrogate that cost $375,000 at a 2-year-old in training sale last year. The workout, extremely strong. An interesting note is that Gustavo Delgado was on record talking about this horse just today in an article, saying that he has a world of talent and basically a head full of chaos. So essentially, he is not the person that, or the horse that minds his manners the best. And mentally, they do have concerns on a big day with a big crowd, how that's going to impact him. But they are extremely hopeful of his talent and ability. So he's one in there. And then the other one I'll mention, the Bill Knott trainee, the first-time starter. Can you get a better pedigree than this? By Tappet, out of Close Hatches, a $2.7 million multiple grade 1 winning mare, including the cotillion and the personal ends and stakes. And in fact, the horse that ran second to Beholder in the Breeders' Cup Distaff as well as a 3-year-old. So that's number 2, Batten Down, debuting for Juddmonte. You get the feeling, James, that this race is going to produce a couple of horses that are going to be heard from at some point.
Yeah, Pletcher has 2 in there, and definitely Speakeasy is going to take some money based on his works. He gets Irad. His other one, Corporate Power, 920 $600,000. The other one is My True Color, $600,000. I'll mention Corporate Power for Shug, $925,000. Curl and Cole, first-time starter, and number 8, Big City. He exits a troubled runner-up effort to Born Noble, who's a big buzz horse, hot horse for Pletcher, going to be running in a 3-year-old stake, perhaps either that or Allowance next out. Had a troubled trip on the rail, really ran a good second that day. I think it's a dynamite race and looks like a 2-year-old main race at Saratoga on a Saturday, Darin.
Yep.
My what else will involve the Pegasus World Cup Turf. Really excited to see integration. We talked a lot about him on this show, but really been just captivated by this Colts turn of foot and his maiden win, the Virginia Derby and the Hill Prince. Excited to see him make his first grade 1 appearance on Saturday. And just the ceiling he has in the U.S. Turf Division in 2024 is very, very high. I think he's going to keep moving forward for Shug McGahee, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Ashley, what do you have for us? What else? I got a feeling it's going to be something I don't like. So go ahead.
Oddly enough, it's also the Pegasus World Cup Turf, and wanted to mention Warm Heart making her final career start, 9-5 morning line favorite facing the boys. She just did that in the Hong Kong Vase and finished 3rd, and then was beaten a next second to Inspiral, I never know which one to say, but in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf and her lone U.S. start. So I don't know if I like her in the cutback and distance here. She does her best work, I think, at 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles. But kind of a feel-good story too, that, got this filly that's going to have her swan song in this race and then trying to beat the boys this time. But I also think Main Event is a long shot if you're looking for a price in this race. An early pace setter who just won the Fort Lauderdale at Gulfstream on December 30th. And George Weaver's winning at a 30% clip right now at Gulfstream. So a couple of other interesting horses, but I understand James' integration, certainly the turf runner to watch going forward.
I do think it's great, though, that Warm Heart, Aidan O'Brien and Coolmore, they're not afraid to ship their horses to any big race anywhere in the world. So I think it's pretty cool that she's coming back after that strong effort in Hong Kong to run in this race in Gulfstream Park. I'll mention a long shot in there as well. Kingbacks, our colleague Vance Hansen's a fan of his, had second in the Fort Lauderdale last time. I think he has upside off that effort, and he's 15-1 on the morning line.
I was really fascinated by the fact that, Warm Heart, maybe they just want to get her in full pretty quick after this, but I thought this was a very interesting choice for her last career start. You would think maybe something like the Dubai Duty Free or the Dubai Shima Classic at the end of March at 1.5 miles would really have kind of fit her profile a little bit better. So, I mean, and again, it could be that they want to get her in full pretty quick in the spring. That's entirely possible. But the fact that they're shipping her here for this race off the Hong Kong race, I thought it was a really fascinating entry, that this is where she's going to wrap up her career.
Yeah, you're right, though. They could have bred her and then raced her in Dubai. So, I mean, I wonder what their decision-making process was. Sorry to interrupt you, Ashley.
I don't know. Yeah, it is an interesting spot. So I don't know, maybe she'll get that win, but I do think it's kind of a tough one for her to go out at 1 1/8 of a mile.
That's the key. The mile and an eighth on a track like Gulfstream that has some really tight turns since they added that synthetic surface, where now you don't run these races out on those extended rails way out. They're going to be down probably on the inside. And a European horse that's typically going a mile and a quarter, mile and a half on big undulating courses, cutting back to a mile and an eighth around tight American turns, it's a tough assignment.
Yeah, well, I feel like this jury had a lot more debate than than
Oh, it
normal.
should be.
This Pegasus World Cup Turf and the Pegasus World Cup really has us going. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting weekend. Head to TwinSpires.com or the TwinSpires app for all those promos, and we'll be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades, and hopefully a lot more debate too.